Hi everyone, welcome to Teacher Baker Maker, and I'm going to show you today how to make carrot ginger cupcakes. So if you're a fan of carrot cake, I think you're really going to like these cupcakes. And I'm also going to show you how to use this really neat attachment that works with a KitchenAid stand mixer to shred the carrots. So if you have a box grater, you can definitely do it that way, but if you want to save yourself some time, this is a great attachment to have. So basically, you have to attach it to the front hub of your stand mixer, so you have to unscrew the screw that's holding in the hub. We're going to insert this in until it goes all the way in and then tighten the screw again. And then it comes with 3 different little canisters that go on the inside. I'm choosing the one for the medium grate. This is the smallest grate that it comes with. And basically the way you do that is you just stick it in here. There's a little switch on the side that you press and release, and now it's in there tightly. Now the way that you get it to shred is you have to turn the power on to speed 4. Now for this particular recipe, we are going to need about 3 cups of grated carrots. So I have about 60 baby carrots here ready to be shredded, so that's approximately how many you'll need. You'll also notice that I lined my bowl with some paper towels. That's because grated carrots give off a lot of moisture and you don't necessarily want that much water in your cupcakes. So this is going to absorb some of the water as it is being grated. So again, what you do is just start it up to speed 4, pull out the plunger, and then just start pushing the carrots in. You'll see it starts to come out slowly at first because it really has to fill up that canister on the inside before it starts to release the carrots. But again, we're looking for about 3 cups of grated carrots. So not necessarily 3 cups of carrots to start with, it's 3 cups of carrots once they're grated. Like I said, this goes a lot faster than using a box grater when you're doing this many carrots. You can also use full-size carrots if you want to, it's just then you have to peel them. And to me, it's just a lot easier to use the baby carrots because they're pre-peeled. Anything to save a little bit of time in a recipe, right? You can easily make half a recipe. The recipe I'm making is going to make 24 cupcakes. If you only want a dozen cupcakes, obviously you do half of this amount. I even did this recipe one time with just 6 cupcakes, and then I only needed, I think it was something like 16 carrots, not even, to make the 6 cupcakes. So it all depends upon how many you want to make. Again, this is on speed 4 of the KitchenAid stand mixer. Every so often, just kind of adjust the carrots in the bowl as they start to pile up. You may not think of carrots as having much water in them, but think about it, you could make carrot juice. So obviously there is quite a bit of water in a carrot, which again is why we have that paper towel in the bowl to help absorb some of that water, or else the batter will be a little bit too runny and your cupcakes will come out kind of flat. Now the reason why I'm making carrot cupcakes today is my great nephew. Today is actually his first birthday. His name is Peter, so he's having a Peter Rabbit themed birthday party tomorrow. And we're making some carrot cupcakes as one of the options for the sweets table to go with the whole Peter Rabbit theme. Almost there. Unplug it before we stick our hands in here. Now the inside of this is actually not sharp, so it's okay to stick your hand in. I mean, I'm still gentle as I do it, because there definitely will be some extra carrots on the inside. There you go. Now the inside of the white plastic part does stain with the carrots, but there's a really easy trick for that. Use a little bit of vegetable oil on a paper towel, wipe it on the inside, and the carrot stain comes right out. But again, I'm going to now unhook this since we won't be shredding any more carrots. There we go. Okay, and again, you're going to have a whole bunch of carrots now in the paper towel. I know it's kind of hard to see on camera, but you can see there's a lot of moisture already coming out of these carrots. So I'm going to kind of just move this over to the side for now. But again, we can squeeze out that moisture, and that way our batter will not be as soupy when we're ready to put it into the cupcake pan. Okay, so now for this recipe, you are going to need to put on your stand mixer the regular beater blade. Now I have the one that has the silicone blade on the edge. That's because it scrapes down the side of the bowl, which I really love, because then you don't have to use a spatula as much when making a recipe. And I'm gonna plug myself back in here. Okay, so the way this recipe starts is we're going to put all of the dry ingredients in the bowl first, and then we're going to use a whisk, or if you have the whisk attachment, you can also use the whisk attachment to whisk all those dry ingredients together. So for the dry ingredients, we're starting out with 2.5 cups of all-purpose flour. I like King Arthur flour. I always have pretty good results with that. You could find it in pretty much every grocery store now. When you see a sale, pick it up. It does cost a little bit more than some of the more mainstream brands, but trust me, it makes a difference. So again, that was 2.5 cups of flour. To that, we're going to add 1 cup of granulated sugar, so just regular white sugar. We're going to add 1 cup of light brown sugar that's been packed. You can see I put it in the measuring cup and it still has the shape of the measuring cup. And the reason why we pack brown sugar is that is the way it gets measured accurately. So that's 1 cup of light brown sugar. Then we're going to add a few different leavening agents. So we have 1.5 teaspoons of baking soda, 1 teaspoon of baking powder, and 1 teaspoon of salt. So I have all that here in this small bowl. So that all goes in here. And then for seasonings, we have cinnamon and nutmeg. So I have 2 teaspoons of cinnamon, 1/2 teaspoon of nutmeg. So again, not a whole lot of nutmeg. A little bit of nutmeg goes a long way. I'm gonna put that in here. And then we're just gonna quickly whisk it together just to kind of break up that brown sugar, mix in the spices a bit. Again, you could obviously use the whisk attachment on your stand mixer if you want to. It's totally up to you. There's still a little bit of clumps of sugar in there, but that's okay. It'll be broken up by the mixer in a second. Okay, now we're going to stir in the canola oil. Canola oil, 1.5 cups of canola oil. So we're going to pour that in. And then we're going to mix it slowly. Always start on the slowest setting, especially when you have dry ingredients in there, because they do have a tendency to splatter out if there's a lot of dry ingredients. So I'm mixing it in just to the point where it looks like all of the dry ingredients have been dissolved in the oil. Okay. Then we're going to add in 4 eggs. We're going to put them in one at a time. And if you don't have the silicone blade on your beater blade, you're going to want to scrape down the side of the bowl after each egg. But again, I'm going to start with one egg. I'm putting this on speed 2. Once you see that egg has been incorporated in, add the next egg. You can even bump it up to like speed 3. Egg number 3. And egg number 4. Crank it up a little bit. Now you'll see that even with this silicone blade, because this happens to be a pretty sticky batter at this point, you are going to see there's quite a bit down the side of the bowl, so if you want to, you can still scrape down the side just to see that there's no, undissolved chunks of sugar that are still down there. Sometimes that happens, especially at the very, very bottom of the bowl. But this looks like it was mixed pretty well. I think we're pretty good. Okay. So now next, we're going to stir in 1 tablespoon of vanilla extract. Now I always get pure vanilla extract, not the artificial extract. There is a slight difference in taste. And the price of vanilla has been very expensive over these past few years. I believe there was some type of monsoon in Madagascar a few years back, and it damaged a lot of the vanilla crops. And so because there was a supply and demand issue, the price of vanilla went way up. So again, if you see vanilla on sale, grab it. So that was 1 tablespoon of vanilla. You're also going to add a 1/4 cup of milk. I'm using whole milk. And then the secret ingredient, ginger vitality oil. Now, ginger vitality oil is a distilled oil that comes from ginger. I'm only going to use 8 drops of this oil in this particular recipe. And you have to be careful because it does kind of sneak up on you when it comes out fast. So I'm going to count out. Let's see if it comes out. Sometimes you have to just get it going a little bit. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Good. Okay, now we're going to stir this in. And again, start at the slowest speed. And even at the slowest speed, you'll see some of the milk did splash out. And you want to crank up the speed a little bit just so that you can see that the milk has actually been incorporated into it. Okay, now we're going to add in our carrots. Now again, we are looking for 3 cups of grated carrots. So we're going to grab a measuring cup, and I'm going to measure out 3 cups of my shredded carrots. There we go, so that's 1 cup. 2 cups. Now it looks like I must use pretty big baby carrots this time because I have a lot of extra carrots here. But that's okay, I can use it for salads. Okay, and there's my 3 cups of baby carrots. Okay, now we are going to again lock it in place, start it on the slowest speed. And you want to increase the speed gradually just to make sure that those carrots are really incorporated in there. And that's all there is to it for making the batter. So in the next step, we're going to actually put this into the cupcake liners. Okay, so now we're going to put the batter into the pan. Now, for this particular party that I'm going to, they specifically wanted me to use these little baking cups. They're actually slightly smaller than a typical cupcake liner. There's quite a bit of empty room in the little well of the cupcake pan. So I'm not going to completely fill my cupcake scoop up. This is a Wilton batter scoop, the medium-sized scoop. So I'm going to go slightly less than a full level scoop for each one, because you want to really aim for anywhere between 2/3 and 3/4 of the way full with these. So again, I'm going to use slightly less than that. And then you simply put it into the cup. And again, I'm going to eyeball it to see that's only about halfway, so I might be able to do slightly more. There we go. Because again, you want to try and aim to have it about 2/3 to 3/4 of the way full. So you're going to repeat this process to do all 24 cupcakes. Again, I have a pan that fits 24. If you only have a typical 12 well muffin pan, that's fine. You can do it in 2 batches or just have the recipe and make 12 cupcakes. And then you're going to put these in the oven, a 350 degree preheated oven. You're going to bake them for about 20 minutes. Since these are slightly smaller than a typical cupcake, I'm probably going to start testing them at 15 minutes with my cake tester, and that way I'll be able to know for sure that they're done, because I don't want to overcook them, but at the same time I also want to make sure that they are cooked all the way through, since there is egg in them. I do not want to give anybody food poisoning at the birthday party. So again, you're going to continue this until you have each of the wells full. In this video, I'm going to show you how to quickly and easily decorate a cupcake using a large star tip. Now, there's 2 different star tips that Wilton makes that are appropriate for cupcakes. The first one is called a 2D, and this is known as a closed star tip because the little prongs are kind of bent inwards. The other one, which is the one I'm actually going to use today, is the 1M tip. Now, the 1M is an open star tip. It's probably one of the most commonly used tips for any type of decorating on cakes or cupcakes, and it's really easy to use. So the first thing you need to do is you need to fill up a pastry bag. Now, I happen to use the disposable pastry bags that I bought on Amazon. It's known as a We Bake disposable pastry bag. It has a little bit of a texture to it, so it makes it easier to grip, especially if your hands are a little bit slippery from the butter or the shortening or the cream cheese in your icing. This gives you a little bit more of a grip, so I happen to like these. So the way I usually do it is I stand up the pastry bag in a drinking glass, and then I fill up the pastry bag with the icing, twist it shut, and you squeeze the icing until it's just about at the opening of the cupcake. Now, there's 2 different ways that you can decorate a cupcake using this tip. The first one would be to start on the outside and work your way in. This would be more of the classic cupcake swirl, and it's really easy to do. So basically what you do is you can hold the tip anywhere from 45 degrees to 90 degrees above the outside edge of the cupcake. And then you're going to start by using your right hand if you're a righty. Use the left hand to guide the tip. And you're going to start squeezing with your right hand. And basically you're going to draw a circle around the cupcake. And then when you get to the starting point, you work your way in. And you keep squeezing. And then when you get to the center, you can kind of build it up a bit, and that makes the classic cupcake swirl. So that's one way to do it. The other way to do it, if you're looking for a more sophisticated or grown-up looking cupcake, is to start in the middle and work your way out. So again, I'm still using the Wilton 1M tip. I'm going to start in the center this time, and now I'm going to work my way out. And this time I'm holding the pastry tip at slightly more of an angle instead of a 90 degree. But you're going to work your way around and that makes a flower or a rose. So again, either way, you can quickly decorate a dozen cupcakes or 2 dozen cupcakes or several dozen cupcakes in a very short amount of time, because all it takes is to basically go around in a spiral in the pastry bag. So again, if you start from the outside and work your way in, you'll get this cupcake on the left. And if you start on the inside and work your way out, you'll get the design on the right. Hopefully this was helpful to you.